Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 211. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011. You can drop a follow over there, or you'll get notified when we go live, so you join in the fun and conversation with us. But if you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic, and put as one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, wherever you're watching or listening to this, if you drop a follow, it may seem small, but it does help the channel grow. So if you take the time to do that, we would love and appreciate you for it. Today we got two pretty different topics that we're going to be discussing. Next week, if you're listening to this on the full release, literally this weekend, is coming up. It's Wrestlemania 40. So we've been talking about it a little bit in these past couple episodes, predicting the card a while ago, and then being like, oh, some things have changed. So we are going to be giving our predictions for the winners of those matches, what we think is going to happen, and what potentially maybe they'll set up down the road post-Mania season. So just going off of WWE's site is what I'm using. I can see one match they've already forgotten, so I'll start with that one. But we'll go through each match one at a time, talk about it, the story, see who's going to win, and we'll go from there. So let's jump into it. Obviously, we don't know night 1, night 2 stuff, so I can't give you that. So first match that they don't have updated just yet is the 6-women tag match, 3v3. We got Naomi, Bianca Belair, and then Jade Cargill taking on Damage Control. I think this one's cut and dry, pretty simple of what we're going to be doing here. It seems like the Good Gals team of Bianca, Naomi, and Jade are going to be taking the win here. It would seem very, very weird to get Jade debuted on SmackDown and then have her lose to Damage Control. So yeah, I think that one's pretty cut and dry in what you're going to do. Shame we couldn't give Bianca something a little bit more meaningful. This will keep up her WrestleMania streak. I believe this will put her at 4 in a row. So we'll have to start building something there of like when that's going to get tense. If we're going to make anything out of this streak, it's just something obviously the fandom has noticed that she's kind of built up for herself. So we'll have to see if that eventually leads to anything. I know there was a lot of chatter of figuring out how the women's tag belts, were going to be on the line, if they're going to do Bianca and Jade team or a Jade Naomi team, and then you have Bianca free for Tiffany, if Tiffany was going to be involved in Mania, which it seems like is not going to be the case. It seems like they won't obviously be defended here at Mania, so we'll have to see if we can potentially build up that division a little bit more. Post-Mania, I don't know. I hope they do, but I don't know the logistics there. It seems like Fire and Dawn are still together, even though they're going to be doing a repackage based on this last Friday Night SmackDowns thing. You still have Chance and Carter. Indy and Candice seem to be a little bit on the tenseness with Candice's heel turn. I don't know if Indy also goes heel or if she divides and conquers. You got Maxine and Ivy Nile still doing their thing. Chelsea and Piper, I think, are still together. So we'll have to see on that side of things, like how that division goes post-Mania. But like I said, seems like good guy team will win here with Naomi, Bianca, and Jade. Just hopefully, it's a good showcase between all 6, which they definitely have the ability to. Just a matter of how it goes in the night. So next match coming up is LA Knight versus AJ Styles. Now something I will kind of input here is I feel with this Mania, while some seem predictable, a lot of the card and a lot of the matches in general, I would say, at least from my viewership and thought process, a lot of unknown and like not a lot of sure things, which I guess is kind of the point, because you don't want to go in there knowing A, B, C, D exactly. We've had that in some pay-per-views in the past. Not that those have been bad, but obviously it makes a little bit more fun factor of like who is going to win these things overall. So there's a couple of these I honestly have no idea, and when we pull the trigger and get to that point, it's going to be interesting as we talk it out. And this first one with Knight and Styles, I think, is one of those ones where I can't really nail down who is going to take it here. Glad both have a program on Mania. I know Styles was out a little bit, taking some time off, and then LA Knight obviously missing Missing last year's Mania was unfortunate, especially being in Hollywood or Los Angeles. But yeah, they got the story here, just kind of your typical grudge match, screwed each other over with the Elimination Chamber qualifier, and then the Chamber itself. Then we've gone from there. We're just, I hate you. I'm going to beat you up. So it really depends. Do we keep the momentum on night? It seems like obviously he's doing very well in merch sales and obviously with the fan crowd interaction. So I'm leaning towards Knight winning this one. I'm just curious what we do with Styles. Obviously he seems to have split from the OC. We gotta try and get the momentum back on his side too if he's gonna come out of this being one of your top heels. I'm gonna lean and say LA Knight is gonna pick up the win here. But I could see this one going either way, like I said, just with that rebuild of Styles, try and get him into that more prominent heel role, because we don't really have that right now besides the Bloodline over on SmackDown. I guess you do have Final Testament and Karrion Kross, but that's been not bad, but it's still wishy-washy in terms of, like, is this catching fire momentum with a lot of people? Like, I know I like all of the elements of Final Testament, but I know AOP is still new to a lot of people who are getting back into it, as well as Cross, this being his third attempt technically on the main roster. There just hasn't been a lot behind him as well. So we need some big heels in there for an LA Knight, for an Orton, for potentially a new Universal Champion, things like that. So Styles could definitely fill that role. It's just a matter of getting the momentum back behind him post this, time off that he took. And get, he hasn't done a lot since Triple H has kind of taken over, so just in general. So LA Knight for the win there. Have a feel-good moment. All right, let's get into the chaos. The undisputed WWE Tag Team Champion 6-pack Tag Team Ladder Match. Holy crap, that is a mouthful. So you got Finn Balor, Damian Cross of the Judgment Day defending against DIY, New Day, New Catch Republic, A-Town Down Under, and I knew I was going to forget a team. Awesome Truth. Wow. So now it's the part of, like, do I predict with logic or do I predict with my heart? So unfortunately for A-Town Down Under, I do not think this is their night. I think this is just getting them on the card, obviously with the brackets and them going against Legado del Fantasma. Sorry, LWO. You have the feud there, which honestly is another match here they didn't update, so I'll have to talk about that one next. With the LWO Legado feud, they kind of just moved on through the tournament to set up that match, even though those 4 members of each respective team are not technically involved in that match, but shenanigans can take place. You do have LWO potentially being in the NXT Stand and Deliver match. I'm sure that's not going to work out as well. Seems to be Good Brothers will just go there. So Theory and Austin seem like filler. We'll just get them on the card type thing. Unfortunately, I want to say New Day are probably that way too. I'd like for them to get some momentum and be around, but they're, if they're facilitators right now. And I don't mean that to be in a negative way. It's just they're there. They can have good matches. They can get people elevated like a Gunther, like a Creed Brothers. Like, they've been there, done that. So it's not that they can't do it again. It's just you want to see new things, or you need to put a story behind that to make it feel not earned, that sounds weird, but make it exciting and compelling for the audience, I would say. So I feel like those two teams are kind of out of this. Oh boy, Moose has opinions about New Day. So then that leads us with 4 teams, right? Now I feel Judgment Day, I think this is where they're dropping them. I think this allows them to drop it and still keep them valid. Like, it's not as big of a loss because it's this just giant chaotic match. Obviously, I do like the Judgment Day, but we got to get those belts off of them to get Priest somewhere with this briefcase, which is a whole nother mess, if you want to call it that, in itself, since this past year of a lot of acquisitions and like, oh, people are coming in and things are changing. It seems like we had a plan for him, and then it's been like push away from it. So I think this is just an opportunity for them to lose them and go from there to, once again, work on Priest, get him his single title, hopefully, and not be a failed cash-in, as we got to get that ball rolling there, because he's only got, as of recording, 3 months. 3 months till next Money in the Bank, so he's got to use it before he loses it. Wait, is it July? Maybe it's June. So maybe even 2 months. Yikes. So we got to figure out that situation. And then, not that I mind the group, they could still be in the group, but, selfishly, let's get Finn back in the program with something. I don't want Judgment Day to fully implode. You could still be in a group with them each doing their own thing, but maybe give some different stuff for each of them. I think they've been a healthy addition to the tag team scene, which is good. So it's not anything of like, I don't want them in there. It's just, I want something different for them. That's all. So if they did retain, it wouldn't be the worst thing ever. I just think this is a more valid, not that they need to be beat like soundly like a Gunther later on. Like it's not that big of a mountain to climb in terms of beating them as a tag team, but it's just like there's more elements involved. Of course, something's going to happen that's wacky or zany. Makes sense. All right, then we got the 2 heart picks. We got DIY is probably number 1 of who I want to win, selfishly. And then you got New Catch Republic, which I feel has been, obviously with the resurgence, that's how you say that word, Bret. The resurgence of Pete Dunne from Butch, and then giving them more momentum behind what they're doing of reforming the team, or rather making the team British Strong Style together. Having that great match at Elimination Chamber with Judgment Day, and then seems like the ball's sticking behind them. That would be a fun win as well. I just don't know if the longevity is there, if like that would get the huge crowd reaction that you typically want at a Mania. But I think that would be fun, once again, selfishly as well. Then we got Awesome Truth. Now, if we're going just off the storyline stuff, Awesome Truth seems to be the shoe-in of like who would fit this spot in terms of a victory. So I would say they're the favorable winners. I don't know if I want to officially lock them in as my choice to win, but obviously all the shenanigans with Truth and Judgment Day. You get the revenge on them by being the ones to take the belts away from them. Do you continue the storyline from there? If so, that's a little scary because then, Priest isn't doing anything. And like I said, we have this 2-month crunch of the world title in the briefcase, or, well, any title in the briefcase. So, not entirely sure there. I'm going to probably go with my heart over my brain here. I'm going to say a DIY takes this one. We get a fun Mania moment with them. They can have some great matches with, the rest of the teams and title defenses here. We know those guys can go. So to get them more on pay-per-views defending these, I think that will just help their momentum in terms of the crowd. The DX nickname, fun. I think we got to get away from that. It might start rubbing people the wrong way. Like I thought it was just going to be a quick little in and out R-Truth joke. It seems to stuck around a little too long. I don't want it to be like, oh, well, they're Triple H and Shawn's like teacher's pet. I don't want it to be that situation. Then people grow sick of them. I want people to like them. So I think the nickname, or that nickname joke, if that sticks around too much longer, that's going to turn against them. So yeah, give it to DIY. Let's go with that for the ladder match. So like I said, because it's not updated, let's go with the LWO versus Legado match. So we got this literally introduced on Friday, similar to the women's match earlier. So Mysterio comes out and says, I'm going to do a partner of my choosing. Now, dumb old me, I go to Lady, I'm like, oh my God, they're going to do Bad Bunny at Mania. They still could, but they brought in Dragon Lee and announced the partnership there as well. Now, I love Dragon Lee. He's had a great year in WWE, or rather 2 years. Debuted at Stand and Deliver last year and is now on the Mania card this year. Like, that's great. He obviously does very, very well, is very talented. So yeah, it's going to be Dragon Lee and Mysterio against Dominic and Santos Escobar. So that's cool. That'll be a fun match. I'm sure Chaos will be involved at this one, as well as like Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo and Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde also get involved. Probably Zelina and Elektra Lopez as well, as I think those two ladies fight off this coming Friday on SmackDown. So it's going to be one of those shenanigan matches as well, similar to another match we're going to talk about later. So I think, especially if we get the Bad Bunny, thing in there. Oh yeah, Carlito's there too. If we get that involvement, I think, it's typical. Go with the good guys here. It's a shame because I really want Santos and those guys to get a little bit more momentum on their side too. Keep them, once again, viable or believable. What is the word I am thinking of? Just in terms of the audience's eyes. You don't want it to just be a wash like after they're done. You want people to still be difference makers in terms of the bad guys. Obviously, typical stories. You want the good guy to conquer evil to then move on from there, but you want credible bad guys for them to, take down, but the bad guys still need to win. To build that credibility, but then they still need, oh boy, talking is hard. They still need to be credible post that loss. They can't just be like, you don't mean anything anymore. So hopefully that's still there. But I'm going to say LWO wins this one. For that tag match. Sorry. All right, then we got brother versus brother. We got Jey Uso against Jimmy Uso. Now, we talked about this in the past with the predictions for the matches that they were going to have. And I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about this match. Just with the Royal Rumble conflict, it started off fine, and then they kind of ignored each other for the Rumble match. We didn't really get any tension build, etc. there. I will say, promo-wise, since that point, leading into this match and the challenge and whatnot, I will say both of their promo work has been very good, and I'm like, okay, I'm actually intrigued in this one. Hopefully they can pull it off in the ring. Hopefully they can make it compelling, make it interesting. I think this is another one you got to lean towards the good guy and give Jay his moment. This could be a whole, as we said last year, so I mean, take this with a grain of salt, but the whole toppling of the bloodline, give this to Jay, and then we can go from there. I don't think there would be shenanigans in this one. I think that's going to be more later towards the other bloodline stuff, so I don't think Solo would get involved, to my knowledge. Him and Jay are going to be fighting on SmackDown once again this coming Friday. It's just, once again, back to the Legato and LWO thing. Is Jimmy credible after this match? Like, Jimmy's been this weird thing, I feel, since the initial breakup of the bloodline with Usos, checking out the super kicks, I got you, that kind of stuff. It was like, oh, great, they're together. And then Jimmy turned on Jay, obviously, with the world title shot. And you're like, wait, you got out of the bloodline to then just go right back into the bloodline. And then, like, I find it hilarious, his goofy antics and, like, trying to high-five Solo and, being big-headed himself at times and thinking, like, I'm the tribal chief or I'm this badass or whatever. Once all this is said and done, obviously it really depends on the bloodline stuff. Like, is he still in the bloodline? Is that still a thing that's happening? Is Roman setting off sail and taking some time off until SummerSlam or whatever? What does he do after this? And he's really got to build up his Solo identity, unless after this match it's that healing moment where Usos come back together. In a way, I'd be fine with that, but it's also, they've already accomplished so much as a team, and Jay's just starting to get the ball rolling with whole main event Jey Uso single superstar thing. I kind of want that to continue. It'd be a nice feel-good moment for a healing moment at the end. It just feels like return to form of like, oh, they're back to doing the tag team thing. Not that they couldn't do solo stuff and be a healthy brother relationship team. It's just, I don't know. So, Jay to win in that one. going over his brother Jimmy. All right, back to the tough decisions. Back to the, oh boy, I really don't know. Is technically for these next 3 matches. Intercontinental Championship defended by Gunther going against Sami Zayn. Okay, now, love Sami. Love Sami to death. He does a great job. He has great promos. He's that underdog you want to root for. He does not need this moment in beating Gunther. He needs... This feels bad. Like, he needs that world title, or he needs to... I don't know. I don't know what Sami needs to spice things up. Like, how many times can you be this underdog chasing up to then fail? And I feel like, obviously, Sami's been around 2016, I believe, NXT. The whole Kevin Owens story, winning the title there after numerous tries against Adrian Neville. Pac finally gets that. Him and Owens have their program. He immediately loses the title in the first defense, and then fights Shinsuke, goes up to the main roster, and then has been up, down, sideways, left, right. Like, he's done everything. Tag titles, IC, US, conspiracy theory character, bad guy, good guy. He's never won the big one. And I feel like that should be his next step, and I think, like, Drew could be a good component for that. Obviously, we had the great moment with him and Roman, obviously hometown, so that's a little different in terms of circumstance, but he did really well there, and there was the swell of support behind him. And not that there isn't a swell of support behind him now, I just feel like him winning the IC title right now, he's been there, done that, so it doesn't feel like this big, ginormous obstacle. Obviously, Gunther's streak is a giant obstacle, but it doesn't feel like he needs to be the one to take that from Gunther. And I know Chad's build, once again, one of our predictions was Chad Gable was going to be in this match, which he almost was. Like, he would have made more sense because he's never held singles gold, and then we did the whole, he could have redeemed himself from failing from his family. But that's not the case, and then Chad's just back in, like, no man's land right now. Like, what are we doing with him? And that obviously could be a post-Mania build. We could set him on fire to then eventually take down Gunther. But, like, why not do that now? Why not do that at the biggest stage of them all? You could do it at Bash of the Beach. This ain't WCW. Bash of Berlin, or whatever that, pay-per-view is. Is that Backlash? I don't know if it's Backlash or if it's just a different TV special or whatever it is. Like, do you do it there? I guess you could, because you need some bad guys to win here. Gunther is already the number 1 record. Do you keep that going? It's really, really just brings up a lot of questions, as we talked about, like, what's everybody's thing after Mania? And then, like I said, with the whole Sami drill, like, what does he do? What do you do with Sami afterwards? I don't know if he loses upwards and then goes for a world title shot. I'm going to lean towards Gunther keeping the title here. Keep it on him. Give it to somebody else to break that, propel that next person up higher of, like, beating that record and beating that. And I feel bad because, like I said, I don't mean to be negative against Sami. It's just... his momentum hasn't been there. There's not, like, a groundswell of, like, come on, Sami, you can do it. And yeah, I don't know. Next one, United States triple threat, Logan Paul versus Orton versus Kevin Owens. This one probably is one I'm looking the least forward to, if I'm being honest. Orton and Owens have been buddy-buddy since this has been announced. Maybe there'll be some tensions that finally fly on Saturday. They lost to Pretty Deadly this past Friday due to the interference with Logan Paul and the brass knuckles. So there was a little tension there as Orton was like, what happened? Why'd we lose to those guys? But then he saw the footage. I really don't care about this one, to be honest. So I'm just going to say Paul retains. We're going to have both the mid-card titles retained. So Logan Paul retains. Obviously, Owens came really close at Elimination Chamber and was hoping for that, but didn't come to fruition there. I just don't care. Yeah. Sorry. Last one here in this streak, at least, of unpredictability. It's the Women's World Champion. It's Rhea Ripley defending against Becky Lynch. This one is one I like both participants. And I'm not sure which way booking is going. Obviously, Rhea's been on this, groundswell now with the Judgment Day character and really committing to what she's doing and doing well at it. And then Becky has been that hero we've had for a while. She hasn't been in the title picture for quite a bit, it seems, after loss, or just doing other programs. I mean, I guess you could technically be like, well, she was NXT Women's Champion, and that's true. I'll take that. But working with the younger talent down there, moving Lyra up and working with Tiffany and working, getting their credibility up. But in terms of main roster, she hasn't been around those title pictures. She did the program with Trish. She was in Money in the Bank at a losing effort to EO. I'm trying to think of what other stuff she was involved in this past year, but I don't think she's had the belt for a little while. So it's tough. It's tough because Rhea, while gaining popularity, match-wise, has been like 50-50. Some have been very good. Some have been a little missteps. Not in terms of like her fault or anything, just in terms of booking and like giving her good matches, I guess. Like obviously her and Charlotte when she won it last year was great. Nia and her surprisingly pulled out a great match in Elimination Chamber. We've had some hiccups here with Maxine Dupree and Ivy Nile. Ivy Nile wasn't that bad, but there just hasn't been like anyone that really feels like a contender against Rhea. Obviously Becky does. Becky does have a lot of credibility behind her and feels like it's going to be a good match, and it probably will be a great match. I just don't know if they're ready to pull the trigger and take it away from Rhea, or to keep her going on this and have Becky then once again go back to working with younger talents and kind of try and elevate the rest of the roster. For example, like a Candice or LeRae, as we talked about earlier. Like with her being a heel now, do you need someone like Becky who can be that face and be that fans believe in her? Fans are still iffy about Candice, and then have them have a good program. I could see that. You could flip it on its head too and be like, okay, who's next for Rhea? Let me think. I don't know. So it's tough. I'm going to lean towards Rhea retaining here. Like I said, nothing against Becky here. I do enjoy both of them. But I think we keep it on Rhea here. I think that would be better. It's just, who's next to go against Rhea? I guess we'll have to figure that out going forward. But we'll say Rhea retains. Then we got the WWE Women's Champion, Io Sky, defending against Bayley, the Royal Rumble winner. There's been a program here. Has it been elevated like the other ones have in terms of media? No, probably not. I'm going to do cut, short, simple, dry with this one. Bayley wins. Obviously, Mercedes is somewhere else, so we don't get that feel-good story there. But I think Bayley goes fully back face. I don't know if we'll see the Bayley buddies and the side ponytail as old days, but her current music doesn't really match the good guy character, so at least some type of form of music change. But her and Io, I think, will put on a good one as well. I've been very happy that Io's been champion, but I think Damage Control is going to get taken down a peg here with a full loss, and then we can run it back with Bayley as she can fight off the remainder of Damage Control defending this title, or have a great match with Bianca or Naomi and do something like that, do a face-face thing. But I think Bayley's going to win this one. She's been another person who hasn't had the title for quite some time. Probably pandemic era was the last time she had a world title. Granted, there was an injury in there, but I think Bayley will win this one. All right, next one's the World Heavyweight Championship. Seth frickin' Rollins defending against Drew McIntyre. Oh, poor Seth. Poor Seth. I think Seth's got to drop it. Now, Drew hasn't re-signed a contract as far as I know, but this man's getting a lot of momentum. And in terms of character development and his promo work against CM Punk, seems like there's a lot of build for when Punk gets back of him and Drew. So I think that's just, in terms of like looking ahead and what they're foreshadowing, that seems like the easy prediction of like Drew's going to win this. Seth obviously has been dealing with the back injury. Obviously he took some time off already to try and rest up for Mania, so he could do that. He's pulling double duty, so hopefully he rested up pretty dang well. But this is giving him, give him an opportunity, step aside, take even more time off, not be on the road, that kind of stuff, if need be. And then he can come back in his glory and kind of reinsert himself in that situation, whether he goes against Punk, because obviously that was what we were thinking, I think, around Royal Rumble time, was like, oh, it's going to be Punk and it's going to be Seth going for the world title. But obviously injuries didn't allow for that to happen. So you could reinsert him into that picture if Punk did win the title at some point, or just have them clash down the road with no title. We'll have to see. But yeah, I think Drew picks up the win here. Give him the Mania moment. Reward the character work he has been doing. Hopefully he resigns, and hopefully this is initiative for that, or, not initiative, incentive to do that. And we can go from there. All right. We were talking about predictable earlier, and I think these next two and final two matches, at least for me, seem to be predictable, but we thought last year was predictable, so let's get into it. Night one's main event, we have The Rock and Roman Reigns going against Cody Rhodes and Seth frickin' Rollins in the tag team match. If the Bloodline win, they get tribal combat for night two, which means shenanigans galore, baby. And I think that means the Bloodline, even with the L, win here. So Rock and Roman will win over Cody and Seth. I don't know if you have Seth get pinned twice. Maybe Cody can be like, hey, pin, he'll do that. Whatever it is, but I think we have to do it to get the shenanigans in there, to get tribal combat for the next day. Obviously, we had shenanigans last year. Obviously, with Solo getting involved after getting ejected, ? But you can have the run-ins galore, and just go insane with this. Obviously, we saw last year these two can have a great match. Still do a great match. It doesn't need to be shenanigans throughout. But make it compelling, make it good. You can have The Rock get involved. Does Rock and Roman turn on each other? Don't know just yet. You can have Solo get involved. You can have Seth come. You can have Jay come. You can have, the TV truck of Stone Cold Steve Austin and Cena come. I guess Stone Cold just has beef with The Rock because history, and then Cena's Cena, so, reasons. You could get even more crazy with it. Is Rikishi there? Or is he going to be there for his son's fighting earlier? Are you going to get a Tama Tonga who's signed? ? Are you going to get a Jacob Fatu? Are you going to get, any other members of the tree? Are you going to get Dustin Rhodes? Probably not. AEW. Is Brandy Rhodes going to get involved? Is Tamina? Nobody Mina? Is Nia? Who knows? Get the shenanigans in there. Just make it drama. Have everybody excited and enticed. But the thing is, you don't want it, it's a delicate balance. You don't want it to be too goofy. You want it still to be between ultimately Roman and Cody, and make that match exciting and good. I'm sure it will be great. We'll all be heavily invested. I think Cody takes it, finally finishes the story, goes over to SmackDown, does some fun programs there with the talent over there, like an AJ Styles, and we can continue from there. Roman can take his time off. He can come back. He could feud with The Rock at next WrestleMania, does whatever at SummerSlam if he's back at that point, if Cody Rock don't do a thing. Whatever it is. Does Roman win, or what happens if Roman wins? The only reason I see Roman retaining here is they try and go on the little Hulk Hogan record. That's the only reason. I don't know if it's worth it. at that point. Who else can Roman fight? He's only got The Rock left to fight, really, if we're really thinking about this roster. He's beat Styles, stacked him and pinned him with Bryan Danielson. He's beaten He would beaten Cody twice at this time. He hasn't technically beaten Seth since this Tribal Chief thing. He beat LA Knight. He beat Orton. He beat Owens. He beat Zayn. He beat Cena. I'm probably forgetting others. You know, there's nobody really in that echelon upper tier of wrestlers of when you think of the main picture people, Drew, that he could still go against. Obviously, Punk is there, but Punk is hurt, and Punk seems to have, like I said, the ties on the other show for now. So Rock seems to be the next one there, but right now they're playing ball, they're getting along, and you want that probably at a Mania, right? So that essentially seems to be Mania 41, but then we all get into the thing of like, well, I don't want Rock to be champion, so Roman win, and then Rock's on the board, and it's a whole fucking thing. So from a logic standpoint, unless you were and had brought in a Kazuchika Okada, right? Granted, the WWE universe and fandom might not know Okada all that well, but like us people who pay attention to other things, not that I watch New Japan, I want to say that right now, but there's that, what's that called? That exterior knowledge, that's not what it's called, of like, oh yeah, Okada's done great things in Japan, I could see him going, swoop, being up and elevated. Like, you don't have anybody there. I know MJF, people are like, oh, is he going to show up at Mania? No, he's not showing up at Mania. He's still at AEW. If he does show up, hey, I'll eat my words, but I'd be happy. I'd be stoked, but no, he's in AEW. He's going to go back there. He's going to feud with Adam Cole eventually, old devil program. It's not his time. But he's someone also you could elevate there. But granted, does the WWE fandom care / no? Like, we cared and knowed about Punk because, well, he's already been at the company. AJ Styles, a little hit or miss. I can't remember. Memory's foggy of 2016 Royal Rumble. Obviously, the Royal Rumble is like your hardcore of the hardcores. Everybody popped huge. But I don't remember how his reception was post that build up into the Cena feud. Like, you had some work. Not you had to do, like he was bad, but you had some like gaining of respect that you needed to do from the general fan. And I don't mean to be insulting with that. It's just like, this is your world. This is your bubble. You don't really pay attention much outside of that bubble. So when someone new comes in like a Jade, you got to make them feel like, this is important. Look at it. So I don't know if anybody's really there for Roman to validate him keeping this. So I think 40, we go off with a good note. Hey, we're celebrating, it's WrestleMania 40 years of this. Cody's going to win. Cody's going to finish his story. We're all going to cry. Well, maybe not cry. We're all going to be happy. Then we'll go from there. But that's my Mania prediction, so maybe I'll be fancy and edit a bingo card in here with little circles. But let me know who you guys think is going to win at WrestleMania. What matches are you guys looking forward to the most? And yeah, we'll just have a blast with it. I'm looking forward to Stand and Deliver too. I don't really have any great predictions there, but should be a fun weekend overall. I don't know. I'm interested about the Raw after WrestleMania. I don't know how exciting that will be after last year's shenanigans, but we will have to see. So yeah. Mania 40. Let's go. Moving over to topic 2, I want to talk about a little bit more video games with y'all. As I played some more demos, some of the demos, of course, I uninstalled them. Some of the demos that I did play, missing from PAX East, and then some new games that I wanted to try out from like the 6-1 Indie Showcase and stuff like that. So I want to talk about those briefly for y'all and share my experiences. So first one, both from the 6-1 Indie Showcase and PAX. Talked about it in last week's episode, but I didn't get a chance to play it, was Dark and Deep. So Dark and Deep, spooky podcast thriller game, first person, go around, solve puzzles, all that stuff. And the premise of this game is you have these picture frames that allow you to find either hidden items or take care of enemies that you are dealing with. I got the chance to jump into the demo. this past week in stream. Healthy demo, very long demo. It's got like 3 parts involved with it with numerous chapters. I mean, you blast through those chapters pretty quickly, but healthy sized demo. The spooks are there. Unfortunately, it's a demo. It's early. Little bugs I was running into. I couldn't see through the picture frame, so once it came to enemies, it was a little tougher to tackle those guys. And then I got stuck here and there in terms of like, what do I do next? So I had a fun time with it. We were very fortunate enough to have the dev come into Twitch chat and kind of help us along the way through some of those puzzles. Very nice gentleman. I had the chance to talk to him briefly at PAX East as well. But yeah, I'm excited to dive into it more. It seems not super scary. It was definitely uneasy at the beginning, but then learning a little bit more about the monsters that are involved, it didn't seem awful, maybe because I couldn't see them as well with the picture frame. But this is one I definitely am willing to give more of a try. It's not one of those like, I'm way too scared for this. No, thank you. Intrigued to see where the story goes. It seems like with this podcast, there's obviously the narrative of something happening, but then you and a friend from online are also talking about like, what do we do with our lives? What can we do to make this more meaningful? And like, I don't want to be where I'm at right now. I want to be more successful. So there's like multiple layers to this of like the podcast and then this chat and then the flashes of a memory that you're seeing of a car accident. How do these things overlay, intertwine, connect with each other? What is this twisted world that you're walking through and, you know, platforming through to get to the next chapter, get to the next obstacle? It's very intriguing, and I'm interested to see how the project develops and when it does eventually come out. I don't know if they have a full release date yet, but like I said, the demo is available and it is pretty sizable, so there is that. So I would definitely give that a try. Right now it says August of 2024. Okay, so relatively soon, but intrigued to jump more into that as it comes along. So Dark Deep was the first one we played. After that, we jumped into a little bit of a racing game. We jumped into... Where the hell is it? Yeah, of course. Now I'm going to... It's almost like I should have written this down before. Bruh, where is it? No. This is an audio podcast you chose to listen to. And I appreciate it. What? All right, well, I guess I'll skip that for now. Next one we played after that was Snecko, a little farming adventure game, but you're a cat. So you and your friend crash on this, not deserted, but this island away from civilization, away from town, and you try and take the simple life. You're like, hey, we want to be farmers. We hate our office jobs. And we just want to do this and have peace of mind. You meet a villager on the town, or at the island. Oh boy. He helps you out. He takes you in. He's very kind and kind of teaches you the way. But warns you not to venture too far into the island, as it seems like there's an evil or like an unsettling energy that has kind of taken over the remainder of the island. You learn a little bit about the past, the history of, you know, it used to be this god and people were very supportive of it and had a good relationship with the higher power. And then there was a falling out as people started to lose faith and didn't keep up with it. And then it seems like the higher power kind of lashed back out, causing for this darkness to kind of go over top the island and not be fruitful as it once was. If you guys like Stardew Valley, this is Stardew Valley with a lot of like quality of life changes from your customization. You can rotate specific items for your building for your farm to really decorate it and just make it however you want. There's grid placements if you want things super exact. Your harvesting is very good and clean and like, just like I said, it's everything that Stardew does. Stardew's a great game. It just adds on top of it and those quality of life things. It's very cute and adorable with the cats. I didn't get super far into it, but there's this whole system where you're kind of rebuilding the rebuilding the island to get civilization back there, build a town, make a bunch of friends, complete quests, farm, taking animals, all this stuff. It seems adorable. It seems like something you could definitely get lost hours and hours into. And there's that intriguing story there, like I said, of the whole higher power and like building that healthy relationship back into the land and the environment around you. So if you like farming sims, definitely highly recommend that one. It is in early access right now, so they're constantly tweaking it, building it. The devs are very nice as well. I met them at PAX East and had a very quick conversation with them, but they're very kind with their time. So Snacker was great. All right, going back to the racing game I totally forgot about, for some reason was not in my Steam library. It's Victory Heat Rally. This one was a blast. Talk about jams. Music kicked absolute ass. If you guys like old arcade style racing games, just skirting around on the track, drifting, all that jazz, Victory Heat Rally is for you. It's that arcade style. You're just going around, obviously doing the races. There's time trials. For the demo that we had here, there was like a tutorial level, 3 races, and then like a Grand Prix of 4, 5 in a row. It was a lot of fun. They got fun characters involved as well, different racers that you could do. You can customize your cars. I didn't mess around with that too much, but it's really, I would say the music is what makes this shine. Just makes it fun and exciting to race around regardless of the size of the tracks, which the tracks are also beautiful and have great environments along with them. There was a castle one. There was one with like sand dunes, I want to say, that we were driving through. Beaches, a lot of fun. Just very like that arcade style, just nostalgia. So very, very fun. Victory Heat Rally. No release date yet, but the demo, like I said, is up and out if you want to check it out. All right, after that, we did play 2 more. Next one we played was a game, again, I saw at PAX, but did not have the opportunity to play it just because that line was super long. This game is out now in full. It is extremely powerful capybaras. So you can play this single player, you can play this multiplayer. There's different classes that you can choose for your little capybara, but if you know what Vampire Survivors is, this is Vampire Survivors to the T. Just little cute capybaras and little enemies that you're fighting. So object of this, you need to survive for a certain allotted amount of time, and you are gaining experience with your capybara. The more experience you gain, you progressively, like any roguelite, will get more options to you of like, how do you want to upgrade? Do you want to do faster attacks? Do you want a different attack? Do you want more defense? Do you want healing? Whatever it is. And each level you get this option of choices. I think it's 3 choices per level that you can choose, as there's waves of enemies, or rather continuous enemies, just forming around you as you try and survive for this 20, 15 minutes, whatever it may be. Gathering different resources and trying to level up your capybaras to go from there. I can see how this could be fun and chaotic in a multiplayer setting. In a single player setting, it was okay. Those 15 minutes really dragged on towards the later parts of it. Granted, that was just one level. Maybe it's a little bit more engaging as you go on, or use a different character or whatever it might be. But yeah, it was solid. Like I said, it's Vampire Survivors. So if you really like that kind of just that roguelike element of how many villains or how long can I survive, then this is something up your alley with a very cute art style. So another fun one. Like I said, this one's full out now. So yeah. And last but not least, one I cannot highly recommend enough. This is one I saw at the 6-1 Indie Showcase. It is the Cryptmaster. So Cryptmaster is is this one also not in my freaking Steam library? Yo, what are we doing here? Cryptmaster is a dark puzzle word game. Yeah, you heard me right. Words. So Cryptmaster, in this game, you are trying to solve puzzles by either A, typing things in, or speaking things in. There's certain prompts that you can use to try and figure out what the solution to the puzzle you're trying to solve. So the demo that we did have here, you are interacting with this Crypt Master. You're down in this dungeon and you are stumbling upon, or rather finding, chests, boxes, these things that you need to open and figure out what the item inside is. So between you and the Crypt Master, you are asking the Crypt Master questions. What's the size of it? What's the smell of it? What does it feel like? The weight of it, different questions. You can think of more, you have that freedom there, but you have a limited amount of guesses to get information of what that item is, and then you need to guess it. If you guess that item, you have 4 characters at the bottom of your screen. If you guess the item correctly, the letters of that item, for example, a shield, those will distribute to your 4 characters to solve their words. And those words that you're solving for the characters are prompts, attacks, actions that you can use with those characters. So, for example, we had Joro, Sin, Maz, and Nyx, I believe. And Joro could get an attack. He could hit, or you could have Maz do a stunning attack, and then Sin had a kick. Nyx had like a magic bolt they could do. And they have a lot of different prompts that you do when you come to this hand-to-hand combat there. Now, granted, if you're doing the vocal part, like I was trying to do, definitely recommend when you get into the combat part, just type everything out. It's a lot faster. But you use these actions to fight different villains and enemies in the crypt itself. Some will have more letters for you to solve, whatever like letters are involved in their name. You'll acquire those to use, or rather solve those words that are in your hero's puzzles as well. Or, for example, we ran into an enemy who had a shield, but on his shield was the letter B. So you can't use any words that have a B in it because he'll defend. So it's a short-ish demo right now, but it comes out May 9th, so not too much longer. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to dive into and kind of, test your brain. Nothing's really rushing you, so you can take your time. So if you're into things like a Wordle or Scrabble, Words of Friends, things like that, this is definitely up your alley, and has that creepy element to it with the Crypt Master. Like, what's his purpose? Is he here just to help you as an undead person, or does he have ulterior motives? But he's got a cool vibe to him. Like I said, having that voice part involved with it. Honestly, I wished it was a little bit more free in terms of like what I could ask. There was a couple times I asked something. He's like, "What do you mean by XYZ? I don't understand. That has nothing to do with this thing." So there was that, but all in all, this was a lot of fun, and definitely probably the one I'm looking the most forward to out of all these games that I did play over on stream recently. So yeah, Crypt Master, I would definitely check out. This one is exciting and definitely has me interested with the puzzle mechanics of it. I don't know why fishing is used as a tag for this game. We'll have to see. But yeah, guys, I just want to talk about, like I said, some Steam demos that I played recently, ones I missed at PAX, and just some new ones from the 6-1 Indie Showcase, which once again, if you guys haven't checked out that showcase, you definitely should go over to youtube.com/61indie. They have their spring showcase. They do that every year, have rather done it the past couple of years to kind of kick off PAX East. 33 games in there that are newly announced, or just updates on them, so you can check those out, support those guys. They're great over there, and I learned about a lot of cool games from them, so like Crypt Master, so you can check them out over there. Glad I got a chance to jump in and play these, and yeah, just looking forward to more games, which sounds silly because I already have a lot of games to play. So much good stuff out there. Well, everybody, this has been another episode of the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch the podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011. You can drop a follow over there. You'll get notified when we go live, so you join in the fun and conversation with us. But if you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, wherever you're watching or listening to this, if you could drop a follow or a sub, it may seem small, but it does help the channel grow. So if you take the time to do that, we would love and appreciate you for it. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me today, giving this a watch, giving it a listen. We'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.